Hello and welcome to your November horoscopes. First and foremost, I would love to thank my Patreon members, the North Node tier, for financially supporting this work every month. And then it becomes public on YouTube at the midpoint of the month when we change seasons. So thank you so much for supporting this work. And yeah, let's get right into it. In the month of November, we go from Scorpio season, which is a fixed water sign, to Sagittarius, which is a mutable fire sign. Fixed signs are the modality of when they hold the energy for the season. So Taurus is in the middle of spring, Leo is in the middle of summer, Scorpio is in the middle of fall, and Aquarius is in the middle of winter. These signs are meant to focus and sustain the energy of the season of their specific element. So for Taurus, it's earth. For Leo, it's fire. For Scorpio, it's water. And for Aquarius, it's air. Now, they also have this signification of being stubborn, of not moving, of not changing, which is true. They are fixed. However, their point is to sustain energy. That is different than the mutable signs. So the mutable signs are Pisces, which is the end of winter going into spring, Gemini, which is the end of spring going into summer. Then we have Virgo, which is the end of summer going into fall. And then we have Sagittarius, which is the end of fall going into winter. And mutable is exactly how it sounds. It's changeable, it's movable, it's malleable, it's flexible. And each mutable sign also is designated to an element. So for Pisces, it's water. For Gemini, it's air. For Sagittarius, it's fire. And I'm missing one. I'm missing one. Pisces, Gemini, Virgo. Virgo is the earth. So the vibe of November is fixed water. And what you're going to find in the month of November are all of these grand water trines between Mars in its domicile of Scorpio, Saturn retrograde in Pisces, and then Neptune retrograded back into Pisces in the month of October. And then Jupiter in the sign of Cancer, which is a cardinal fire sign. And all of this water energy and how they are all speaking to each other in our harmonious trine is what makes this month possibly emotional. It's about feeling to heal it. It's about catharsis and releasing of emotions that might have been pent up. It's about grieving and mourning. It's also about dreaming and imagination, incubation, the pregnant moment before something becomes birthed into the collective, into the physical reality. This is a time to work with the water element. If you don't have much water in your chart, this is by transit an invitation to understand what water is. Water is ever flowing, it cannot be contained. That's why water and earth go hand in hand together because earth provides the container for the water to flow. Water is movable. So this is a lot about moving your body and doing somatic work, doing some working with the water element, crying, expressing your emotions in however way they want to be expressed through either speaking it or into an art form or into therapy or counseling or healing sessions. So I think November is this incredible opportunity for us to slow down and to really ask ourselves honestly how we feel about things, how we feel about our life currently. We are at the 11th month of 2025. We're preparing now. Our energy is preparing and we're getting into this death cycle here, especially in the Northern Hemisphere, when we're in the thick of fall and things are starting to compost. So we get our energies ready for the Aries ingress that happens in March, which is the spring, which is the seeds are coming out of the soil. We have two lunations this month, the full moon in Taurus and then the new moon in Scorpio, which is interesting because now the new moons happen at the end of the month versus at the beginning of the month. So it does sort of asks us at the beginning of the month to release something and then at the end of the month call something in or use that energy as a seeding moment. We have a lot of movement in the sky. We have Mars will ingress into the sign of Sagittarius. So Mars goes from its domicile of Scorpio, which is more quiet, more stealth, more determined, into the wild, risk-taking sign of Sagittarius. Then Venus will ingress into Scorpio in its detriment. So it'll go from its domicile of Libra, then into the Mars ruled sign of Scorpio. Uranus retrograde will ingress into the sign of Taurus. And this is going to complete that 8-year transit of Uranus in the sign of Taurus since 2018. And Mercury will retrograde back into the sign of Scorpio. And we will also have a Mercury retrograde this month between the signs of Sagittarius and Scorpio. The Sun will ingress into the sign of Sagittarius. And then Venus at the end of the month will ingress into the sign of Sagittarius. So again, we go from a lot of like water energy to at the end of the month, we'll get into the mutable fire sign of Sagittarius. There's a lot of planets that are pivoting and changing directions. So Mercury will retrograde on November 9th. Jupiter will retrograde in Cancer on November 11th. Saturn will station direct on November 27th. And Mercury will station direct on November 29th. So those are the major ingresses and retrogrades. And we're going to do something differently for each sign. I'm going to pull tarot cards for each sign to give you some messages. And yeah, this is maybe not going to be like a day-to-day forecast for your rising sign, but a more overarching theme of what to prepare for as we head into 2026. So let's get into your sign. Hello, Cancer, and welcome to your November horoscope. As you can see, I'm not in my usual home space, so please bear with me as I don't have my mic and my usual things. So hopefully you can hear me and y'all will just vibe with me because I did want to get these out. Um, so here we go. How was your October, by the way? Starting strong on November 4th, Mars will ingress into the sign of Sagittarius. Now, Scorpio season, which will be up until the middle of November is in a trine to you. So your Scorpio house and the area of your life is around the fifth house, which is about pleasure, joy, sex, romance, and children. And then when you get into Sagittarius, this is your sixth house, which is called an inconjunct because it's in a 150-degree angle to you. It doesn't witness you. So both Cancer and Sagittarius, um, they're really about this idea of like what is home, right? Cancer is that the home is a very private space. This is like ruled by the moon. It's your body. It's something that's really safe and secure. And Sagittarius is like the opposite kind of energy. Sagittarius is like home is where the wind takes me. Home is where the journey is, you know? So when Mars enters Sagittarius, this is actually going to be really helpful for you because Mars has its joy in the sixth house, meaning that Mars will be able to take action on the things that maybe you've put on the back burner. Mars rules your 10th house of career and your fifth house of Scorpio. So Aries is your 10th house. So you might just feel like in the month of November, a lot of the things on your task list are going to be done. Like you feel very motivated, you feel very also like energized to take action towards your health rituals and day-to-day things to support your life. You might be more focused on things that give you passion and joy. You know, Mars is a masculine young planet. It is about taking action. And that's why Mars likes the sixth house, because this is the area of your life where you kind of need to take charge of your daily rituals and your habits. On November 5th, there is a full moon in Taurus that happens at 13 degrees, and this happens at 8:19 a.m. Eastern Time. So please adjust for your time zone. So I'm going to share the chart with you and show you. I think a lot of people are going to really like this full moon because it's an exalted moon. And here we have there is a full moon in Taurus in your 11th house. The 11th house in astrology is the area of our life that is community, organizing, organizations, friendships. If you have a social media presence, these are your followers. So having a full moon here and then the sun in Scorpio in your fifth house, you can be experiencing like a fulfillment of some kind of a project, or you're deciding on that day you're going to present something to a group of people. Venus is the ruler of this full moon, and Venus is in its domicile in Libra in your fourth house of home and ancestry in your foundation. So, yeah, something exciting there might be something exciting you might be announcing on at this day, or something coming to fruition on this day that you've been wishing on. What I find interesting about this full moon is that it's connected to the new moon in Libra that happened on October 21st, and that new moon happened at 28 degrees. And so Venus is kind of on that new moon degree activating it. And I like this because Venus is in its domicile and it's in your fourth house of home and family. Something really lovely is maybe being manifested around this time, like someone's getting pregnant or new babies in the family, or you decided to like renovate your home, or something in your home life um is really like working out in some way. And that's not obviously going to be for everybody. This is just for the general reading of Cancer risings. And what I like about this full moon too is that Venus is separating from its square to Jupiter in Cancer, which is currently in your first house, expanding you. And Jupiter, you know, when Jupiter transits your first house, it could literally expand you. Like, um, you might just feel like, um, I don't want to say like, because I don't want to be like fat shaming anybody, but might be feeling so good and comfortable that you might just feel like your waistband is getting thicker, or like tighter or whatever. And so that's why Mars in your sixth house is getting you to focus on your health habits and focusing back on maybe going out for a walk and being more active. But ultimately, I think something between you and your like embodiment is being expanded also through your family life, something personal going on with you. And at this full moon, it's coming to fruition. So I really like this full moon, and something maybe you get to celebrate with a group of friends. On November 6th, Venus will ingress into Scorpio. So Venus will then enter your fifth house, and Venus has its joy in the fifth house, which is really lovely. However, Venus is in its detriment in Mars. I mean, a Mars ruled sign like Scorpio. So the ruler of your fourth and 11th, so your fourth house of Libra and your 11th house of Taurus, is now going into the fifth house. So topics around like family and friendships, you might be just in a like a more celebratory mood in the month of November. You might just want to hang out with your friends more, family more, and just be like really investing in those relationships. Because Venus is about it's a relational planet. Venus is about worth and value and beauty and love. And yeah, in the sign of Scorpio, this could be more of like an internal thing, um, like I need to do what's best for me. I need to go after my own desires. But there's something about the month of November for you that I think um, you're focusing more on like what you desire, and you're focusing more on the joys of life, the simple pleasures, which we should all be doing. And maybe you're getting your family and friends involved in this endeavor. On November 7th, Uranus will ingress back into Taurus. So Uranus has been transiting your 12th house of Gemini from July 7th till now. And so you're getting a little preview of what Uranus's transit through the 12th house was about. You can also ask your fellow Gemini risings because they've been going through Uranus and Taurus in their 12th house. So ask them what that whole transit was about. And now Uranus is going to go back into your 11th house to finish its transit. Uranus entered your 11th house in 2018, and it was trying to like maybe get you to think outside the box in terms of what communities you were a part of. Maybe you became more radical during this time and you decided to be in different kind of groups. You were interested in maybe social media, and so you decided to post on social media. And during this time, you got quite a following. Things like that might have happened. And so now Uranus will finish its transit and will be here until April. So that's like a good 6 month, 5 to 6 months of Uranus finishing this transit here. November 9th, Mercury will retrograde at 6 degrees of Sagittarius, which is your sixth house. So Mercury rules your third house of Virgo. So that's the house of communication, speaking, your neighbors, siblings, and then your 12th house of Gemini, which is the house of the unseen and unknown. And when Mercury goes into your sixth house, you might be really thinking about the ways in which you show up and maybe the ways that are being hindered by like thoughts of self-undoing or self-undoing behaviors, your limiting beliefs, um, and how you need to take daily like proactive steps to be able to communicate better, to be able to communicate with your coworkers, um, support your day-to-day life, like health habits. So, yeah, when Mercury is retrograde and then it's going to go back in Scorpio on November 18th, this is like fifth house and sixth house topics. The fifth house is the house of good fortune. The sixth house is the house of bad fortune. Now, don't freak out. Like I said, it's only because the sixth house does not witness the first house. It is in an inconjunct. So you want to take care of your health. You want to take care of those doctor's appointments because when you don't is when you need to and when I don't know, like whenever I'm sick, I always take my health for granted. And I'm always like, that's like the only thing I think about is how do I just get better? How do I just get better? So please be mindful of your health this month, especially during Mercury retrograde. And yeah, like be careful. Also be careful because having a retrograde in your sixth house, you might just have accidents, you know. Also, Sagittarius is this like it's a mutable fire sign. Accidents can happen when you're not paying attention. Also, Mars is here, you know. Um, Anyway, on November 11th, Jupiter will retrograde in Cancer at 25 degrees in your first house. So this is your body. And so Jupiter has been expanding you. Um, Also just like your belief in yourself. Like Jupiter's signification is faith and belief in self. And so Jupiter has been expanding you since June of this year, and now it's going retrograde. And now Jupiter is like, okay, what are some of these belief systems that we need to really embody? We think them, but do we really believe them? There's all these different things I want to do with my life. I need to really like lock into my faith, those kind of themes. On November 18th, like I mentioned, Mercury will go back into Scorpio. Now, because the fifth house has a signification of romance, some exes could come back to your life. Um, but ultimately, having a Mercury retrograde here can also just ask yourself, like, am I really doing the thing that gives me the most joy and the most pleasure? You know, Mercury rules the three C's: communication, contracts, and commerce. So I don't know, some of y'all might be deciding that you want to start writing again, open a YouTube channel, start your social media channel, start speaking all of your thoughts. So many people I meet that I work with, my clients, they have so much wisdom and so many insightful things to say, but nobody gets to hear them because their own mind gets in the way. Like, who cares what I have to say? Or no one's gonna listen to me. Like, I'm a 50-year-old woman, or whatever the story is, right? Mercury is the stories. And I'm just like, okay, like sometimes we have to get out of our own way because sometimes it's not about you, but your wisdom and all the things that you've learned need to be shared with other people. Like your story and what you've been through can help somebody who's going through the same thing. You know what I mean? So, anyway, on November 20th, there is a new moon in Scorpio at 28 degrees, and this happens at 1:47 a.m. Eastern Time. And so, let us look at that chart. Okay. So, a new moon happens when the moon and the sun are in alignment in the same sign. So here we have the moon and the sun, which is a new moon, conjunct Mercury retrograde. I think this is really lovely. Um, this new moon is in a supportive trine to you. This is again the house of creativity, children, romance, sex, pleasure, joy. And so some of y'all might be planting seeds towards like a project that you want to birth, something that you want to I'm thinking like even if y'all are interested in pleasure activism or pleasure as a practice, joy, your inner child. Um, Now the only thing is it's opposing Uranus and Taurus at 29 degrees. So there is this like element of surprise or unexpectedness around this new moon. Um, like if you have children, your child could be like, I have something to share with you, and it's like unexpected. Um, or like maybe you catch feelings for one of your friends and you're like, oh my God, that was so unexpected. I'm just saying these things because of where they are in your houses. Uranus is in your 11th, the new moon is happening in your fifth house. The ruler of this new moon is Mars in Sagittarius in your sixth house. So there is some like grinding, some hustling, some making something happen energy going on here. What I do like about this new moon is that it's making a trine to Jupiter and also Saturn and Pisces in your ninth house. And these are the Dharma houses in Vedic astrology. And this is about like your belief in yourself, in God, whatever you believe in the universe. Um, there is some divine purpose that you have yet to allow to be expressed. And so your job is to listen to the inner workings of this creative energy that wants to be manifested through your physical vessel. I know that was really deep, so I think I was channeling that, but it's exactly that. Like, we are all mediums and channels for the divine. It is up to us to create and cultivate this um, daily practice, which is sixth house rituals, to allow that energy to emerge. So you are co-creating something, you are birthing something. Do you have the courage to share what that is? That's Jupiter in your first house. On November 21st, the sun will ingress into Sagittarius, and this is a sixth house season. Again, this is about your daily habits and rituals. Are you waking up every morning and looking at your phone first thing? Maybe that's not the best, like, thing to do for your mind. And I need to definitely work on that. I need to work on my digital hygiene. Um, are you moving your body every day? Are you drinking enough water? Are you getting enough sleep? Like, those are the kind of things that can set you up for tuning more into your intuition on a daily basis. On November 27th, Saturn will station direct at 25 degrees in your ninth house. And this is really lovely because this is the last time Saturn will station direct in your ninth house. The ninth house is about your belief systems, it's the house of God, it's foreign lands, foreign travel. The ninth house is a place where, like, we ask ourselves, why am I here? Like, like, what is my bigger purpose? What do I believe in? Do I believe that God brought me here for a purpose, And Saturn wants three things. Of course, it's a malefic, right? But it wants discipline, plan, a structure. And Saturn rules your seventh and eighth houses. So a lot of you might have been, going into some deeper meaning around your partnerships, or your partnerships might have been related somehow to your faith. When Saturn is in the ninth, your faith might have been challenged because oftentimes when I see Saturn in the ninth, it's like people who don't believe in astrology or people who don't believe in God. Um, but because it's Pisces, I would say that this is more about building a structure around your philosophy or your spiritual practice, for example. Okay. And then November 29th, Mercury stations direct in Scorpio. So Mercury will be going forward through your fifth house. And now all of the things that you've been reviewing and reflecting on, you can start to take action on. And then on November 30th, Venus will ingress into Sagittarius in your sixth house. So, like I mentioned, Venus rules your fourth and your 11th. So, the topics of those houses will now be imported in your sixth house. And again, daily rituals, habits, routines. The sixth house is also like your work environment, pets. Some of you might be getting a pet. Um, and and yeah, like the things we do on a daily basis to support our life. Okay, so as promised, I am going to pull cards for each sign. Take what resonates, leave what does not. So for Cancers, what is the obstacle for what is the obstacle for the month of November? What is the obstacle for the month of November? Ooh, okay. Wow, we have three cards that came out. We have the Two of Pentacles, the Hermit, the Queen of Swords. Okay, there's something that you're weighing, you're trying to make a decision between two things this month. And how you can get there is through deep inner reflection, trusting your intuition, um, and being really clear. See, the Queen of Swords is like very blunt and upfront and does not care about people's feelings. There's some deep truth that you know what's right for you, but you might have to decide it in a way that might hurt people's feelings or make other people uncomfortable, but you're choosing between two things. So that's the obstacle. And I don't know what this is about. You would probably know that. What is the opportunity? Ooh, okay. Ooh, walking away, Eight of Cups, walking away from something that does not serve you anymore. That's the opportunity. Okay. So, like I said, you're weighing between two things. Um, and what is the blessing? What is the Ooh, Nine of Swords. Interesting that this is the blessing. So what this is telling me is the Nine of Swords is like you're worried about something, right? And since it came up as the blessing, it's saying like you don't have to worry about this anymore. Whatever you've been contemplating, whatever you've been like trying to decide on, really like listen to your intuition, walk away from it, and you won't have to like worry about it anymore. And I know that sounds very easy for me saying that, but you're a Cancer rising. You have all sorts of like intuitive like nudges in your gut. And I think it's time to practice listening to that. And Mercury retrograde, I think, is going to have you stand, as the kids say, 10 toes down on what you believe in and the wisdom that's coming from your body. So I hope that resonated. I hope you have a beautiful November. I will see you next month. Bye.